fun. So I'm going to start just by kind of having you guys go around and introduce yourself and maybe talk just about who one of your biggest influences was as a wing T guy. So, Coach Wolfgram, we'll start with you.
Okay, we'll start with the oldest guy, huh? All right. My wing T influence came from the University of Maine back in the 60s. Mostly Jack Butterfield and Walt Abbott, basically. We didn't run all wing T, but we ran enough of it, so I got my teeth kind of cut on it. And when I left Maine in the early 70s and went to Madison, I took the wing T and combined it with some I stuff, so I've kind of hybrided it. And I would say probably the biggest influence in my life was Coach Abbott, who I'm still very friendly with today. And the second biggest was Jack Butterfield, who personally is the best coach I've ever been around. He was just an outstanding coach. So got a chance to work with those guys. One of the things that I really enjoyed was when I was a GA in 71, I got to scout with Jack Butterfield. And a couple of years later, he went with the New York Yankees as a vice president. But when we scouted, we went all over New England, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Vermont. Vermont had football back at that time. And the whole time I was just picking his brain, asking him questions about different things. And he was just the whole package. So those two guys are the guys that influenced me the most, Walt and Jack Butterfield. And unfortunately, Jack, may he rest in peace, was involved in an accident several years ago in New Jersey. But he was a great, great coach. Okay? That's my background.
Was he the coach at Ithaca, Coach?
Yeah, no, that was Jim.
That was Jim.
That was Jim Butterfield. And
yep.
Jim Butterfield and Jack were the spitting images of each other. I remember Jim spoke at one of our clinics way back in the 80s, early 80s. And looking at Jim, I saw just Jack incarnate. They looked so much alike. Their mannerisms were so much alike. And Jim was a great, great coach at Ithaca. A great coach.
Yeah, I went on a recruiting visit there my senior year, and it was quite an experience. They had just come off winning the national championship. Yeah, I think they had Jeff Whitman, who went on to play fullback for the Steelers there. So, pretty cool thing.
The thing that those guys did is they combined intensity with creativity, which sometimes is difficult to do. They stick the chin out and get intense as hell, but they're also creative and imaginative, and they were just really, really good coaches.
That's cool. All right, Coach Munz, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, thanks. Did you say me or Tim? I'm sorry.
Coach Munzig, you. Yeah, go ahead, Coach.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, as I've done my whole career, I'll echo everything John just said, because those two were great influences on me as well. I played for Coach Abbott. I played baseball and freshman football for Coach Butterfield. Terrific men. And, people often say to me, how'd you end up in Gardner? I said, well, Coach Abbott and Coach Wolfgram. Coach was going for the job here at Gardner, and he was a finalist along with Jimmy Reed, who ended up being a great coach as well. And so those two were finalists for the Gardner job. And Coach Abbott had got me a couple of job opportunities, interviews, and I went and interviewed down Rockland, and they hired me. They called me, and I called Coach Abbott back and said, thank you, Coach. I got that Rockland job. And this is 1975. Teaching and coaching jobs are at a premium. And Coach Abbott says, don't take it. He said, don't take it. He says, I got something better for you next week. So my mother almost fainted when I called Rockland back. I turned down the job. I put all my faith in Coach Abbott, and he delivered me to Gardner with Coach Wolfgram when we took over there. John took over in 75. He brought me along for the ride, and then John became just an absolute perfect influence for a young coach. I sponged everything I could, all eyes on John and how he did things. And so my philosophy stemmed right from John's philosophy. We ran wing T, we ran I. And I think what we did well is, we changed the curtains, but we didn't change the fundamentals. The blocking stayed always the same, basically, if we were an I or in T. And, I evolved a little bit of run and shoot because I ran that in high school. The worse we were, the more wide open I got. I think is basically what we did. And if you saw me running the Wildcat, you know we probably had no chance to win a game all year. But so that's where my influences came from, and I stole, like you guys do, everything I could find. And you know, I'll share everything with anybody because you know I'm the only guy that's undefeated this century. I haven't lost a game this century, and of course I retired in '99. That's probably why. But I'm just tickled to be here, and you know, most people don't even remember I coached. They think I'm some video guy, so it's good to be remembered.
Awesome. Coach Roche, you want to go next?
Sure. I don't have quite the illustrious stories that those two do. I don't like following them up. I started back in the early '90s, and I happened to be in a video store getting a video, and I ran into Ed McDonough. Didn't know him well. You know, played for Wells under Marty Ryan and ran the wing T. I could still remember Brown Right 248. That was a sweep. I remember I was the center, and I knew that was sweep. Brown Right 248. That's the only play I remember out of him. And then Ed started down there in Wells, and in my talking with him in the video store, he says, "Hey, you want to come help?" And I said, "Sure." And ended up being a halftime assistant and learned the wing T under him. And I know Kenny and a couple of guys know Ed pretty well. He's a guy that wants to do, this isn't a dig on him, he likes to do everything on his own, like kind of, you know, just he takes charge of everything. But what was good about that, what it taught me is he just gave me my first year, he basically said, "You're the JV coach, go coach him." And I had no idea how to do anything, but it taught me how to call plays and do things. And so at first you're kind of like, uh-oh, what do I do? But it actually taught me how to do things by being the JV coach for a long time under him. And then when he left, you know, really, I always felt Carmen Perry should have been the head coach, but he just couldn't do it. And so luckily I got the job at Wells and have been there ever since. So those, you know, Marty taught me a little bit about the wing T, and then Ed has definitely taught me about the wing T. And then since then have you know, clinicked with Kemsky and one time with Tubby Raymond. Kemsky's probably the most boring guy I've ever really been in a room with, you know, to listen to, but he's also probably one of the smartest guys I've heard talk about the wing T too. Not a lot of action out of him or anything like that, but he definitely knows his stuff. And then in the past, Bruce Cobley down in Georgia and stuff like that are guys I really kind of gotten to know a little bit before he passed away. So those are some of my influences. Yeah. My newer influence, I think, is sitting in the room here, Coach Rotsko. I've, you know, started to look at him a little bit as some of the stuff he does, and so it's good to learn. We always learn, and that's what's the most important. That's why these things are great. So that's my background.
Awesome, Coach Rotsko.
Well, that's nice, Mike. Say, hey, Ed McDonough, Brown 248. That's our numbering system. So I don't know if he's an AIC guy or where he got that from. But
actually, that was Marty Ryan, and he was an AIC guy. So
okay.
That's where I got it from. Yeah. So that's I didn't.
All right. But anyway, I'm hearing some familiar names back in the day. But my first coaching job actually was at Ithaca College, and I was a grad assistant. I went to Springfield, and I went to Ithaca as a grad assistant. I coached under Jim Butterfield. So my first year I was grad assistant. My second year, they had a position on the staff, so I stayed. I coached football, baseball, and Jim Butterfield was definitely my biggest influence. And I only coached under him 2 years. When I left there, I went to AIC as an assistant for 3 years. But I think Coach Wolfgram already mentioned his brother, but Jim was just a great, great coach, Hall of Fame guy who he was just great with the kids. You know, we were split back veer back then. We won the national championship. We had great teams both years. But the thing about Jim that was so impressive was the way he handled the kids. He had a great sense of humor, but he was a tough guy. Kids, it was funny. The kids were scared to death of him, I think. But on the other hand, they absolutely loved the guy. I mean, he's just one of those guys that just a great, great guy. From a wing T standpoint, obviously I got it from AIC. And when I went to AIC in 1981, I was assistant for 3 years before I became the head coach. So I was the head coach at a pretty young age. But they were running the wing T at the time. And they had been, before that, they had been kind of a traditional I team, I think. They had some great tailbacks. I think dating all the way back to Glenn Dumont, who is a Maine guy. Some of you guys may remember him. I don't, it's, I can't remember where Glenn was from, but I know he was a great player. And after him, they had Bruce Laird, who was played in the NFL for 10 or 12 years. And then I think Terry Randolph was the tailback, Willie Randolph's brother. So they had just a string of great tailbacks. And then all of a sudden, they didn't have that guy. And but they had, 3 or 4, 5 good backs, kids who could do a little bit of everything. And that's when they went to the wing T. So our numbering system is a little bit different, and I've talked at a bunch of clinics and talked about that. But that's where I learned the wing T from, and I was the head coach at AIC for 10 years, and went to Longmeadow High School in 1993. Was there for 20 years, and then came up to Marshwood for the last 8.
Awesome, thanks, Coach. Kenny, we'll go to you last.
Okay, great. So I had a lot of influences. My high school coach at Orono High School was Wally Koval. So he's a wing T, University of Maine guy, Lewiston, 140-pound fullback. So, I got that from, that was part, of course, as I'm a high school kid, I got no clue what we're running for an offense. I'm just go here, go there. Mike Haley was an assistant coach one year. And my baseball coach my senior year, John Wolfgram. He'd probably like to forget that experience, but he was a grad student at the University of Maine, and our baseball coach had to go on National Guard duty, and so Coach Wolfgram stepped into the breach. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it was like, okay, this is what coaching's all about. He was a great man, and so I can't think of better influences than as a high school athlete than like Wally Koval, Mike Haley, John Wolfgram. I mean, I feel like I'm blessed to have those 3 people influence me in terms of, how to conduct yourself, how to be disciplined, how to be team oriented, all of those kinds of things. And then in terms of the wing T, I think just as an observer, watching and knowing people that played for Ron Rogerson when he came back to the University of Maine, and they were just a fun team to watch. I mean, they were just great. I mean, they had the whole package. And talking to some of the people that played for them that I got to know as well. I'm good friends with Ed McDonough, so we sit down, have a couple of iced teas, and talk about things and get those things going. And both of the head coaches that I've worked for the longest, I mean, Frank Knight, a defensive guy from Maine, he's like, just go ahead and run the offense. Whatever you do is fine. And then, and John Wolfgram, a defensive guy from Maine, he's like, yeah, wing T, that sounds good. Go ahead. But I felt like at both schools, we had a number of running backs, and what better way to deploy 3 of them at once, plus a 4th as a quarterback than run the wing T. And then I've learned a lot just from playing against and watching Marshwood, and picking up a lot of ideas from having watched them play. So it's been a lot of fun doing this, and it's a great honor to be on this panel.
You guys are going to play this year, is that right? Did I hear that?
Playing who?
Lawrence and Marshwood. Are you guys tangling this year?
Again? I haven't
No,
seen.
we played a couple years.
Yeah, we played 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
You did.
I don't know who's making these schedules. We went to Marshwood twice, years.
Our athletic director.
That's right. So then, wait, it gets better, because we are the smallest school in Class B, 600 kids, and we are traveling to Thornton Academy this fall.
Actually, that's the one I heard. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking of. You guys playing
Thornton
TA.
Academy.
There you go. All right, I'm going to start with a kind of a general question for all you guys, and then we'll kind of break them up after that. And I think Kenny kind of he kind of just hit on it, so I'll ask him if he just wants to expand on that a little bit, and then we'll kind of move around the horn there. But why did you adopt the wing T in the first place? What about it schematically, and just what about it philosophically appeals to you and has made you want to run it for so long?
Same order, Mike?
Yeah, let's start with Kenny because he just kind of talked about it. I'll just let him kind of expand on it, and then we'll slide around.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. When I started at Waterville with Frank Knight, we were, back then, the Pine Tree Conference was basically, I think Coach Munzing can attest to this. Basically, you came out in one or two formations and you ran off tackle and you ran 3 or 4 plays and maybe a play action play. You throw the ball 4 or 5 times, and we were that. But then we had a year where we had, and everybody was doing wing T blocking, as you guys have talked about. Then we had a year where we had a bunch of running backs. So in order to involve all 3, make all 3 of them a threat, including the quarterback, we had Brian Scott at quarterback, so that didn't hurt. So we just kind of evolved into the wing T and had success with it. We tried to give everybody, instead of an I formation where you got a guy running the ball 25 times, we tried to spread it out and get 15 touches for the 4 backs. And it seemed to, it goes into, team play. Everybody's got to block. Everybody's got to run. Everybody's got to catch passes. Everybody's got to carry out fakes. So it's the ultimate team offense offensively, I felt.
Coach Wolfgram, how about you?
Okay. First of all, quick story. When I was an Orono baseball coach in 1970,
Exactly.
I took a tractor and brought it, like all guys who are young and aggressive.
I wasn't going to bring this up.
Okay. Can you remember that?
Good self-reporting. I like that.
Right. Okay. So I took a tractor. I was trying to turn over the baseball field so he could get on the field before anybody else got on the field. And I got the tractor stuck in the middle between second base and third base. It was stuck there for a week and a half.
Well, the ground was a little soft.
A little soft, yeah. We were 2 feet down. The coaching staff at Maine never let me live it down. All right, wing T. I think probably the best word to describe the wing T is flexibility. You can do so many things with it. You can have a fullback who's 140 pounds or 240. You can have running backs, have to block, who have to run. Basically, there's so much flexibility to it, and you can move the ball around. And I think it just provides an opportunity to do different things. We've always combined the I with the wing T. Certain years when we had a real good tailback, like I was fortunate enough to have several good tailbacks, we were in the I would say 75% of the time. Other years when we didn't have that feature back, we ran almost all wing T. So I would say the flexibility more than anything else. And you don't need, first of all, kids win all the time, but you don't need great kids to win with the wing T. You can win with versatility, you win play action, win with quickness, basically. So I think the flexibility is a key thing with the wing T that I see.
Awesome.
Ahead,
Coach Munz? Coach Munzing?
Yeah, thanks. I'll take it a slightly different route. I was a wing T quarterback at the University of Maine when I played for Coach Abbott. So I knew the offense. And I think it's a very important role that the head coach has to play, and that he's got to be fluent in his offense. So you have to know as the game unfolds what adjustments you need to make. You need to run the play, and you need to know, okay, did the defense stop it because they're just better than you? Did your kids not execute the play so you can fix that? Do you have to go to the next play in the sequence? So I think being fluent in an offense is so very important. And I always thought that some coaches who, not to criticize, but it'll come across as criticism maybe a little bit, were the grab baggy guys that, from week to week, you say, Jesus, he's running this week. Jesus, he's running that this week. I think you got to know your offense. And I knew the wing T. I played it, I understood it, and I knew how to take that offense and attack most of the defenses that we were seeing in our league. I think I could attack a 52 defense with the wing T pretty well. I think all the things that we were able to do, and I think that's the flexibility of the offense that presents itself. In our league, we're seeing a lot of 52 stuff. So you get the guard trap, get the belly going, then you get kind of crisscross, and you could set those things up against that defense. And then they came out with that goddamn bear defense that drove everybody crazy for a while. And and that's a question for you wing T guys that are still running it. What do you do against the bear? I'm sure you'll get to that, Mike. But that's why I was always comfortable with it, because I was fluent in it.
Awesome, Coach Roche.
Yeah, I guess the old standard, answer to that question is that, if you look at Wells, we have been successful. I'm not, believe me, I know that, and I appreciate that part of it. But a lot of times we're undersized. Through the years we aren't that big a school. We have smaller kids, it seems like, than like a Mountain Valley in the past and those teams. And I do think the angle blocking and things that the wing T sets up allows you to have those type of kids. Maybe not we've never been blessed with real big linemen. We've had a few, but not big linemen. And I'm sure, like a lot of these guys, a lot of times if I have a good fullback, he becomes my guard. And sometime along the way. And so I think the wing T allows for that. And if you don't have a good quarterback, you can hide them at QB and maybe get away with some things that you wouldn't be able to in a spread or something like that. All those things that kind of attract us to the wing T. And I'm like Coach Munzing. I remember Ed telling me, don't grab back, get it, just stay with the wing T. If you're a wing T, and I know a lot of the old wing T guys won't let you in the club if you're doing other things. You know what I mean? If you're trying to do other things, they don't. Kemsky always said that. He was always on those clinics yelling about, don't try all this other crap, just stick with the wing T. And I get that. But we've not so much. We're probably shotgun maybe 10% of the time, but we get in the power eye that Bruce Reed used to run out in Ohio. I think it was that it's kind of the wing T in a power eye set. We'll do that late in the season, when the weather gets bad and all that stuff. So we do. It's not. I don't know if it's so much grab bag as just changing things up a little bit sometimes to take advantage of what we have. But I think it's the angles and things like that the wing T lets you have that are best for us.
Awesome, Coach Rotsko.
Yeah, I guess for me, as I said, I was at Ithaca and I coached defense there. And then when I went to AIC, we had great defensive teams at Ithaca, and they were looking for a defensive coordinator. So when I went there, Kevin Gilbride had just taken the job at Southern Connecticut as the head coach. So I was the defensive coordinator for my first 3 years. So when I took over as head coach, I just kind of fell into the wing T, to be honest with you. I didn't have a particular love for it or anything like that. But I will say in the last 28 years I've been coaching high school football, we've had one losing season. And that one losing season was the year that we weren't in the wing T. I had a great fullback. I had a good tailback. The fullback was a Division I scholarship kid who broke his leg in our last scrimmage. I think it was the second to last play of the scrimmage. And then my tailback dislocated his elbow, I think maybe in the third game. And we ended up 3-7. And that was like I said, my own losing season, 28 years. And I know if we were in the wing T that year that we would have been at least 5-5. So again, I just kind of fell into it.
All right, I'm going to divide this up a little bit. I want to talk down blocks for a minute, because obviously the down block is a pretty big piece of the scheme in the wing T. So I'm going to go with Coach Roche and Coach Rotsko. Can you guys talk a little bit about how you would teach the down block for the tackle, say on a free shade, what the coaching point of the technique is, and then Coach Munz and Coach Lindlof, could you guys talk about the down block of the wing back onto a defensive end? So I'll start with Coach Rotsko.
For us, for the linemen and our tight end too, basically our first step is a flat step. I did offensive line a couple weeks ago, and I think I talked about it a little bit. But anyway, our first step is a flat step. So we're trying to sometimes those guys are even given ground, and their rule is to block the first man inside, on or off the line of scrimmage. So what I teach them is to get their inside hand. That first step's a flat step. They're going to try to get that inside hand on the near number as they take their second step. And then they're going to take their outside arm and they're going to drive it up through the armpit. So we don't talk about shoulder blocking. I know at clinics, a lot of times guys ask that, and I've never talked about shoulder blocking. But when we make our down blocks, by getting your head in front and taking that step, putting your arm on the number, you almost have to block with your shoulder a little bit, I think, as you bring that arm up through the armpit. So I think the two most important teaching points are to step flat, first of all, because if you step at a 45 and you get a blitz or somebody shoots the gap, you're not going to make the block. So anticipate the worst.
Coach Roche?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of stole the thunder there. I mean, it's the same thing. If we're running buck sweep, we got gap down backer, and that tight end's got that down block. Our aiming point is that armpit. We do have a flat step, as flat as possible. Kids struggle with that sometimes because they just want to come off the ball and things like that. But we also tell them that that guy's moving, so we got to get a little bit of more flat step, and that arm aim for that armpit is our really big, and getting that hat across are our two things in that block. I mean, if we can't get that, we're going to really struggle on buck sweep, or any play. But buck sweep is the one I always try to think of when I think of down block. So we're almost identical in that one.
Coach, Mike, I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
The contact, Tim or Alex, I've always kind of gone back and forth, depending on the kid, whether we're contacting with a shoulder or a reverse shoulder, or it's going to be a hand punch, basically. What would you say? Is it more of a hand punch for you guys, or is it a reverse shoulder block? What do you think?
We're going more to the hand punch a little bit into that armpit for us. You know what I mean? I guess we'll get to what we teach the guards on pulling and stuff like that when we do that kind of block. But with that down block by the tight end, we're really a hand punch into that, what we hope is the armpit when we do that.
The away armpit or the near armpit?
Near armpit for the coming across. You know what I mean? Yep. Yeah, with the outside arm coming down in.
Okay.
What I would.
Alex, you talking?
I would say the same thing, except I think the first point of contact is actually that inside hand on the number, and cover your ears, but your head, as you step with that inside number, and we're saying, hey, I want you to get your head across. It's almost simultaneous. And then we're bringing that outside arm up, like Tim talked about, driving the outside arm up through the armpit.
Okay.
Coach Lindlof, you want to talk a little bit about the down block of the wing back?
Okay. I gotta backtrack one thing. Another big influence of mine is my good friend Mike Mealy, offensive line coach. So I've got to talk shoulder block when I talk. Otherwise, I won't be his friend for long. But we kind of is kind of a hybrid with I think the big thing with the wing is not to chase. You have to stay committed to your path. A flat step to cut off penetration, and then continue it. If somebody's going outside you, that's not your problem. And so you're working together with the tight end, and really, buck sweep I think is the hardest play in the whole wing tee sequence, because it involves so many people, everybody on the same page, everybody working together, and being totally synchronized. And the wing is possibly the hardest thing. But the big thing for him is just you're going flat, and then you're going up at a 45-degree angle. You're cutting off any penetration, but don't chase. Somebody might want to, they'll engage and try to go outside. You let him go, which is tough sometimes for a kid, because he'll start to, I got to block him, and he'll make the mistake of trying to block somebody out. Then that just allows penetration. So he's just forming a wall with the tight end, first couple of steps, and then stay committed to your path.
Coach Munz, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just add that one of the things I came to kind of late my last couple of years is we started breaking things down every play. Most dangerous man. Who's the player on the defense that can blow the play up? And certainly buck sweep penetration is going to kill you. So the techniques are solid. One of the things I learned from Coach Wolfgram is we started blocking 21-29 with a base call. I forget when we started doing that, John, but the tackle would not go down. Tackle would go tackle on tackle. And then we take that tight end, and the tight end would go down on the inside backer. So as that 50 backer was reading that pull, he'd get smacked right there. And so that really threw off his scrape technique. And a lot of times, which we all like to do, is to plant that outside foot, square that 21-29 up inside. And that really helped it. Remember when we started doing that, John? I think we called it base. 21-29
right.
base. Yeah. That was a really good pickup. And we came to that fairly early, or you did. And we just stuck with that because you tackle, when you're we're running the play a lot to the left side, just like John always taught. And our left tackle's our best lineman. And so a lot of times he'd just be one-on-one with that tackle. That tight end would go down inside. And as that straight backer came on his read, he'd get a face full of the tight end. And lots of times that was ended up being a key block in the play. Any more on that, John? Yeah, you know me. Hell, I used to ask you, who the hell are we blocking on this thing, John? He kidded me. He said, Robbie, you got no idea who we're blocking.
Coach Hathaway, one thing that we do with a wingback blocking, we'll take a flat step like these guys are talking about. If we get what we call a hard defensive end, we're going to put the head across in front and take away penetration, drive him. If he doesn't come hard, if he's soft, what we're going to do in the second step, we're going to come off and we're going to hand punch him, make the block there. So it depends on the play of the defensive end which way we're going to block it. So we work really hard on that block, really hard.
One of the things we found in more recent times is that we'll tell that wing, we used to always just tell the wing if that defensive end was in his gap, we're going to kick him out. We used to play it that way all the time. That was a rule. We've gone away from that, where if he's in the gap, you're going to block him now, and we'll kick out the next guy outside that. And the tight end's always going to go gap down backer. But one of the things we found is when we started doing this, for some reason, if that defensive end comes onto the wing, it screws up the guard, because the guard thinks he's supposed to block that end. You know what I mean? And he sees the wing engage, and now there's all sorts of messed up. And it's been every year we have to go through that a lot. So we've been calling inside outside on sweep. We're a very tight buck sweep teams over the years. We're very, very tight. We're just off. Mike can tell you, a lot of times we're almost off tackle on our buck sweep to start, and then break it out with like a kid like Tyler Bridge was able to break it out. But we'll call inside outside now. We'll say it's a more outside sweep to the back. If things are going like that, we've done that with our buck sweep, where we'll say inside where he's gonna run it tight, and then run outside if he calls outside. There's other words we use. I don't want to say them right now because of Mike Hathaway, but
Hey, can we get a quick check on BL to see if he's still awake?
I bet he's taking furious notes.
He's probably eating one of the Coach Mealy's ribeyes.
Yeah,
I see him cooking on Facebook all the time.
I'm already here, Kenny. I just was a little upset you didn't mention me as an influence after the Lobster Bowl, but I'll get over it.
Yeah.
Oh man,
that one running play we had was awesome.
Want to talk a little bit about the pulling guard? Somebody mentioned it earlier. Coach Wolfgram, can you talk a little bit about the technique of the pulling guard on the inside trap play?
On the inside trap play,
Yeah.
on top box sweep. Okay, all right. If we're the pulling guard, basically, we're going to open step. We're going to climb right over. Let's say we're facing an Okie look, a 50 look. We're going to climb right over the center, be as tight as we possibly can, and just we're going to block with the right shoulder if we're going to the right, and just root the guy out of it. There's not a lot to it. Basically, got to be really, really tight as you get out of there. And I was going to mention one other thing about the buck sweep. One thing that we do quite a bit, we'll actually drill the buck sweep with 4 components. We've got the wing back, we've got the tight end, we've got both guards, we got the running back, and we have a coach coaching each position. And we're gonna run say what we call 29 down. Basically, we'll run the play, and everybody will have a coaching point. Basically, make it. Then we'll run 21 down, going the other ways. We spend a lot of time drilling that. Our 2 best plays are the buck sweep and the trap, and we actually have drills set up where we work on the techniques for everybody involved. In the buck sweep, and then the trap, you've got the post lead, you got the trap, you got the cross the backer block, and we have a coach taking each position, breaking it down.
Coach Roche, can you talk a little bit about the 2 guards in the buck sweep scheme, the front side and then the back side, and just talk about your coaching points there?
Yeah, so we want to get that, that with both guards, we want to get a little bit of depth on the buck sweep. You know what I mean? Not real deep, but we got to get some depth, and then set up that angle. They got to know that front side guard's got to know who the kick out is, and we're calling that between the wing and tight end. Mostly the wing's going to tell him that now is what who he's going to kick out with a series of language that he will use, but he's got to know, and then he's got to eye that kid right when he comes out of that stance, when he throws that elbow around, as he comes out of the stance, takes that flat first step and then climbs a little bit up a little bit. You got to get a little bit of depth to get away from any penetration we might see. And then he's got to find who he's kicking out. And he heads right at that guy's numbers. And we're trying to kick him out, with a fairly physical block if we can. And what we tell him, and another struggle, and I don't know if you guys see this, is for some reason in the last few years, we've seen a lot of I make that great initial contact and then I want to bounce off and go to the next level. We don't even teach that. So I'm not sure where it comes from, but we want that front side guard on the kick out to stick with his guy. He wants to get his hat across and keep that guy who we're kicking out and stay with him as long as we can. The backside, we have him pull when we can. And when he gets around, he's hugging that tight end down block. He's hugging it tight. And he's looking inside first. He looks for any of the if a linebacker is scraping across to reading the guards or whatever. That's who his eye is. If nobody's coming, if they've stunted or we've made great blocks, he then just continues up in what we call the alley. He's staying in the alley and becomes that lead block for the halfback. Under my good backs like a Tyler Bridge. He had a lot of times you'd see he have his hand right on his butt almost, or on his back, the tailback would, as they're coming through that hole. So he's kind of directing them where to go, but he really has to look inside for that scraping linebacker or even the safety with some of the teams we're facing scraping over. So with those 2 guards, we love buck sweep as a lot of people know. It's one of our favorites. We've probably gone more to belly and that kind of stuff in the last couple of years, but we're with Tyler and stuff. I mean, he had 2,000 yards just running buck sweep, so we'll take that too. So,
Coach Rotsko, is it any different the front side guard on the belly play when you guys are running kind of the belly down scheme and then pulling the play side guard? Is that a different technique than it is on buck sweep, or is it pretty similar?
Yeah, the steps are different for us. When we're running buck sweep, I think Tim hit on all the important coaching points. But our front side guard, his first step is actually at 45 degrees. And as Tim said, as soon as he takes that 45-degree step, which is away from the line of scrimmage, he's looking downfield to see what's going on. That second step, we take a crossover to get even more depth away from the line of scrimmage. Then I tell those guys, I want you to get an inside-out path. And like Tim said, the good backs they're gonna be right on your hip anyway. And I tell those linemen, hey, listen, you're 230 pounds, whatever. You could play in against a 170-pound kid who's a much better athlete than you. I don't care if he runs around your block, because if he does, he's not going to make the play. If he does, then you better get a new halfback. So, he's going to come inside out. It's kind of a banana type route. And I tell him just run at him as hard and fast as you can with an inside out path. The backside guard, he's going to step flat and then cross over because we want him to get depth also. And as Tim said, he's going to try to get around that down block as tight as possible. And he does look inside. That being said, there are a lot of times when you get the alley player running through the alley or whatever, and he may have to kick out or whatever. So it's a little bit different for that backside guard, I think. belly down and belly. Actually, our guards take the same step, so we want to be off the ball. And our first step is it's a drop step. It's not a deep step like we take on buck sweep. It's just kind of a short 45-degree step. And then they also want to get an inside out angle with the head inside, and we're looking to kick out on that. So the steps are quite a bit different, actually.
Coach Munz, on the belly play, what are you teaching that halfback on the play side? What's his, what are his coaching points?
Well, it depends the formation that we're in. I mean, a lot of times, we'd end up running a lot of 300, 700 belly, and actually it would come into our rip type of play. So we're taking that lead halfback on the heavy side, and he basically is becoming the lead blocker on the belly rip. And that was always good for us. That's one of the things that we evolved to as well. I ended up using a lot of 300, 700 formation and some unbalanced stuff. But that halfback there, that's where we were doing it a lot of the time on that is lead blocking with that halfback. Because we were, again, like George said, we were doing the hybrid stuff. So that halfback a lot of times would be like Patrick Munzing at 215 pounds. And, he was the tailback, but in 307, he's rip blocking for a 230-pound fullback. That was pretty good for us.
Right. Well, let's switch over to Waggle here for a minute. Coach Lindlof, I'm going to go to you first. What are you teaching the quarterback for a progression on the Waggle play?
Well, he's got to, obviously, he doesn't fake. We don't fake with the fullback. We just turn toward him. The fullback kind of makes the fake, but we take the ball and we seat the ball at the belt. We turn our back to the line of scrimmage, and the backs make their own fake, and they have to be committed to carrying out those fakes. And then he's got to get 6.5 yards depth. If it's too shallow, he's going to run into garbage, any kind of penetration. If it's too deep, then he can't make a play as a runner. So 6.5 yards, and from there, he's reading the defense. We start with the safety and see if we can't get the post corner. Because we have the flat, we have the backside, tight end drag, running it to the split end side, let's say. But we'll run waggle out of any formation. We have tags that will run waggle opposite, waggle solid, waggle no-mo. We just try to waggle, everything that we possibly can. But the 6.5 yards is that rule can't be broken. And he has to be a runner first. So the first week or so of the preseason, we're running three. I'll stand behind him, and I'll yell either 1, 2, 3, 4, depending, the receivers are numbered, or go, and he's got to run. And every other time it's go. And then other than that, that's we're doing that on air. And then we just progress from there, where he can, start to read. We start deep, and then we check down to the fullback, and then the fullback obviously becomes a real key player too in waggle. He's got to have a quick fake, and then he's got to get to the flat as quick as he can. But having a quarterback that is a run-first guy is the most important thing. If you come out and make waggle a pass play, it's not going to work. It might work here and there, but we've got to sell the run first in order to force the defense to react.
Hey, Kenny.
Yeah.
Do you increase that depth going to the left a little bit to help get the right-hander's shoulders downhill a little bit?
Well,
do
maybe
you ever do that?
Yeah, right. Not much, because we can't get him too deep. Then we lose him as a running threat. Then he starts to drift, and then we don't have a play. So we don't go, 7 yards is basically the depth. We have cones out there that he's got to go between those two cones. And once he hits that 6.5 yards, he's got to try to get downhill, particularly coming to your left. So you're not running toward the sideline and trying to throw back either, across your body or pushing the ball that way. So yeah, getting the shoulders square and getting them downfield is really big.
Coach
I mean, I
Hathaway,
always thought your kids did that great to their left. I was always envious how well your kids threw the ball to the left.
You know why? Because you get good players at quarterback. That's
Hussey could throw it left, right, behind his back, whatever he wanted to do, probably, right?
That's a big key. If you have a kid that can throw on the run and that's got to be sometimes a taught skill. It's great if they don't. It's great if they can just come out and throw on the run. They got their feet and they can get their body in position to make those throws and a little bit off balance and do all those things. And we work on that too. That's kind of a progression, and they eventually get better as they get comfortable.
Mike Hathaway, quick question.
Yeah.
I'd be interested how I think one of the toughest blocks in the wing tee is the log block by the guard, the lead guard on waggle, particularly to an open end, to a split end. I'd be interested to see how people block that. My philosophy on that has kind of changed throughout the years. It used to be all shoulder block, pinning the outside hip with the shoulder, but I've kind of moved away from that a little bit, use the hands more. So how do you block the log block? Go ahead.
Well, we do. We try to log as quickly as we can. So our front side guard is a shallow pull down the line of scrimmage, and he tries to pin. But a lot of times, of course, people are coming upfield. And then we have to coordinate that with a drill with the quarterback, where he gets immediate pressure and he has to stop and then step up inside. And usually when you do that, that kind of takes away the fullback. But now we're looking backside. We get the tight end drag or maybe the backside post when he can't really, attack the perimeter. So that takes a lot of drill work. So log, and then it becomes a kick out if he has to do that. And then the quarterback has to climb up and get vertical and look north.
I think for us, it's if we run belly a lot and belly keep, it helps us with our waggle, because that defensive end doesn't come up as much. I think the belly and stuff, belly keep, belly run, all that stuff that we run really helps us set up waggle, because that defensive end's hesitant to shoot upfield, on us, and it helps our log block on that. It is tough, and we do, like Kenny said, we'll work on both, the quarterback stepping up if that end shoots upfield quick, and just tell our guard to just ride him up the field as much as you can. But I think the belly, my personal feeling is the belly helps us to set up that defensive end, because if that defense doesn't find upfield on belly, we're going to run belly until forever, every play.
On belly keep or the pass, coach, you pulling just the front side guard on that?
Yes, on belly, right. We only pull the front side, yeah.
Coach Rotsko, I'm going to slide over to you. Is there something, that makes it, like I've seen some teams that they'll stop pulling both guards on waggle. Is that, against a team that blitzes, or, a certain front that you're seeing, or what causes that adjustment?
Yeah, well, there's two different things. One would be the call in the huddle. If we call, for us, I won't go through our numbering system and so forth, but for us, waggle right would be a 286. If we wanted to run it, something where we're going to drag the tight end opposite, or have a throwback, whatever, screen, that type of stuff, throw back to the halfback, we call 286 solid. And that tells the front side guard not to pull, because we want the quarterback setting up on the midline. So, sometimes it's dictated by the call. Other times the kid's got to make the call in the line of scrimmage. So for us, anytime we get either three men on the line of scrimmage to the play side, goal line situation, maybe if you get a team that is going to be a 6-man front, I'll call it probably when I send it in. But the kids should know to call it too. So they would just check solid, and the front side guard would stay and the backside guard would pull. The other thing that would make us do that is one of the coaches mentioned the bear look. If we got a bear look, or anytime the the center's covered and the backside guard is covered, somehow we have to protect that backside A gap. So our center will make a solid call, and then he makes, we call Bama, so that means block back. So our center would block back and take the 1 technique or 3 technique, whatever, 2 technique. And that tells our right guard, if we're going to, again, waggle right, that tells our right guard he would have to come down and block the nose guard. So again, we would pull just the left guard. But we're going to try to get both guards out whenever we can on waggle.
Fix that. Coach Wolfgram, how much does it affect your play calling, or what are some subtle adjustments that you might make to a team that does blitz a lot? You know, maybe you get like one of those 3-3 stack or 5-3, type of schemes where they're just sending guys. How do you counteract that?
As a basic rule, run vertical, try to go vertical. And probably the best plays vertically out of the wing T would be the trap. If they're stunting a lot and you hit a trap, it's going to be big, real big. The belly's a good play, good vertical play. And when we're seeing a lot of stunting, we always try to have a lead blocker, whether it's a belly lead, whether it's an ISO lead, whatever happens to be. Otherwise than that, play action and get outside, I would say. Either a key pass, some type of a key pass. We don't run a lot of belly key pass. We run a lot of eye key pass because we like the idea of the tailback being deeper, basically, and it just creates a better angle, I think, for the line of scrimmage. And so I'd say run vertical, get outside.
Want to shift gears a little bit away from some of the plays and just talk, kind of formations and some things like that. Coach Munz, I'm going to go to you first up there. Have you done a lot in your past in terms of shifting when you get to the line of scrimmage and, maybe lining up with the halfback to the right and the wing to the left and then switching them over and, it's so line, and if not, why don't you bother?
Well, I'm going to show you this. This is something that we came to do quite a bit of. Let's see if I can get this up here. See if you can see it. You guys see that now on my screen?
Yeah, okay. We got it.
Okay, so this is one of the things we came up with against Waterville. And it also works against teams that are really good in the 52 and are well coached and read well. So this was a little trick that we had to do. Kenny and his crew up in Waterville had some great teams in 93, 94, 95. And we couldn't beat them straight up. But we knew all their reads. And Kenny used to do this to us. He knew all our reads, so he would false key us, he would formation us, and he would drive us crazy. And so I had a little bit of turnabout as fair play. So I don't know how well you can see this right here. But what we're doing is we just call the pro set 300 waggle switch. So we're 300 formation, and we're running waggle. And what we're doing is we're trying to influence their backer. They had, I think it was Hamill playing linebacker for them. He was a great linebacker. So what we would do is we take the guy, block him down on the 5-man. They'd switch assignments. Now you have to have a center that can run a little bit. So what we would do is we'd take him and they're going to switch assignments. So what would happen here, that backer is reading guard trap. He's going to step up because he's well coached. So he steps up. The fullback is out of the pass route. He becomes a rip blocker. He's just going to take that guy and he's going to rip block him. He's going to isolation block on that linebacker because he's going to get a face full of a linebacker stepping up. Tackle on tackle. And it's going to chip on the defensive end because we need a little bit of time to get that center up. They chip his outside shoulder. And then what he's going to do is he's going to run an option route. He's going to turn outside and we're going to run waggle. And the backer's got the responsibility in underneath, but he's coming up because he thinks it's guard trap. We hit this a lot against Waterville. I think it was 94. We gave him a heck of a game in the playoffs. We must have run this play, I bet, half dozen times. The other way that we did it, we put the tight end over the other side. We dragged him too. We called it drag two. And so that was it's not a shift or anything else, but it's a formation change. And one of the other reasons that I like the the wing T stuff so great is that, you know, you can make changes with the window dressing, with the curtains. You change the curtains, everything else is staying kind of the same way. Now you need a center that can run. We had one that year. He was a converted guard, so he'd get out there, and it became a really, really solid play. So, you know, against teams that know what you're doing and are better than you, that's when you have to go to the, you know, you have to go to some of the other stuff to, you know, to try to, you know, even the playing field.
Isn't that considered not fair play when you use a wing team's rules against them?
Well, I was only giving Kenny fear about his turn because he was awful with us. I mean, he knew every read, and he would false key us and all kind. It drove us crazy. I finally said to Matt Brown. Matt Brown became the defensive coordinator for us towards the end in '98, and I knew Waterville was going to be our arch rival that year. I said, Matt, I don't care what you do. Take all our defensive rules, throw them out the window, and come up with something that can stop Waterville. And actually what he did, he came up with zone blitz with the weak side corner with waggle action. That weak side corner would come up, and they had nobody to block him. It was, you remember that, Kenny?
Yeah, you did a lot of inverting too with your secondary as well. Well, I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah, for our rotation, what we finally, I know we're getting off topic here, but I think it's a good nugget. For our, the waggle teams want you to be indecisive in the secondary because you can't start to rotate while they're in the guard box. And they stay in there a bit, and your rotation gets all screwed up. So what we started doing, rather than keying the ball, we started having a fab key. We'd key the fullback for our rotation. And as soon as we came upon that idea, Coach Burgess came up with it. As soon as we came upon that idea, key that fullback, it got us right into our secondary rotation. And with that zone blitz, that weak side corner, he started coming up, and the inside backer would just take the fullback in the flat. And we had some good guys that could cover, but
I think
gone down the rabbit hole with that one. Sorry.
I think our false keys were guys not knowing their assignments and doing the wrong thing. So like,
I don't think so.
Guards running into each other on waggle, you know. So
hey, you have used a lot. I know you used a lot of shifts when I was, you know, coaching against you. Can you talk about just some of maybe the nice things ways you've manipulated defenses by shifting before the snap?
Who's this for?
For you.
Oh, okay. So, well, I mean, you know, right out of the wing T playbook, there's, you know, slide to, move to, scramble to, and so we incorporate those things, and we use scramble to a lot, so that they come out and kids come out and line up anywhere, or sometimes you know, we have the tight end. We'll give him specific instructions for that week. But so scramble to, we come out and line up, and then the quarterback will say move, and they'll just sprint to wherever they're going. We try to snap it really quickly. You know, we're getting a team that's rotating, you know, strong and weak or whatever else. And Coach Rotsko uses that, you know, really effectively too. So you might scramble to, then you have a jet motion, then you're running something really quickly, and the defense is, you know, the idea is you know, they're forcing the defense to be vanilla and to kind of play base and not to, you know, run around when all this stuff is happening and to try to now you want them to guess with you. If you know, if you get them to start guessing, you're in a good place. So Coach Rotsko does that all the time with he's got a waggle go that he uses, and they scramble and they go to a strong set with a fullback, wing, and tight end on the same side. Then it's just a waggle go, but he does it really quickly. They scramble, they jump to it, and the ball is snapped, and then, you know, one guy out of position, and you're giving up a big play.
How about Coach Roche? How about unbalanced for you? Have you used a lot of unbalance in your time?
So we didn't till fairly recently. Along with the shifting, we never shifted. I watched some of Coach Roscoe's stuff where he shifted a little bit, and then against a few teams, we started shifting towards the end of the year. I don't remember if we did it against you, Mike, as much, but we did it at York the last time we played them. We shifted a little bit more, and it did seem to work. So not to give things away, but it's something I've spent the winter studying a little bit on shifting and doing more of that. But I do love the unbalance. We will go unbalanced quite a bit, and sometimes it's not so much an unbalanced offensive line as one of our big formations when we see, I think it was MCI this year had a real good defensive end linebacker type kid, and he always went to our tight end wing side. Well, what messed him up was just taking the halfback, that similar to the formation that Coach Munzing just showed, putting our halfback to the tight end side, but take the wing and put him over on the opposite side, and that wing actually becomes a tight end to us, sort of from the wing spot. And it was really messing them up because they wanted him on the tight end wing side every time. So now he's going to the tight end side, and we're running buck sweep back to the wing side. And we had great success with that. We were struggling to run buck sweep against him. And then when we just, all we made was that little subtle switch, which is kind of unbalanced in some ways in the wing tee, but it made it better. But we will definitely pull the tackle over sometimes and do stuff like that. And we have gone more unbalanced probably in the last 3 years than we used to go.
We spent a whole state game running away from that dude.
Yeah.
For MCI, man. He was good.
He was good.
Very good player. Coach Wolfgram, I'm going to ask you this one first, and then I'm going to go down to Coach Rotsko because I know he's done a little bit of it. But have you ever considered, Coach Wolfgram, moving back and running a little bit of the wing tee stuff out of the shotgun?
Yeah, a little bit. In fact, several years ago when the spread started to come in, I took a really hard look at it. And I didn't think plays like the buck sweep timed up as well from gun as it do from under. I thought that was a factor. And we've run some trap from gun, but that's the only wing tee concept I think we've run. I just don't think the timing was there. One thing about the wing tee, it hits quick. Your trap is quick, your belly is quick, and and you get great play action out of it from under. So I don't think that the wing tee really times up that well from gun. I never thought it did anyways.
Coach Rotsko, what have you had the most success with, just in terms of wing tee plays out of your shotgun stuff?
We've been just kind of developing it, I guess, the last 4 or 5 years. We started the first year, we were probably about 20% the shotgun, which obviously is going to help you pass game too. But I think we went 30, 35. This year we're about 40%. So I'm guessing that's probably where we're going to end up. The reason we did it and the reason I liked it is we didn't have to change any blocking schemes for our offensive line. So we run all base wing tee blocking schemes, which is great. My biggest concerns going and run a lot of shotgun stuff, wing tee. The center snap obviously was a concern, but we have our center snap during specialty period. Plus, nowadays we have like 7 or 8 7-on-7 sessions in the summer, so they go to all those and they snap and so forth. So that really hasn't been an issue. And the other thing I was concerned about with the wing tee, one of the great things is all the fakes that you get out of it. My first year in Maine, we had 5 inadvertent whistles, believe it or not. In 19 years in Massachusetts, I had 1. And in my first year, we had 5, and 4 of them were touchdowns that got called back. In fact, went into I guess it was about our 7th game. And, the officials before the game, they're always ask you, hey, is there anything you want to talk about? I said, yeah, when we do this, and before I could get it out of my mouth, the guy was, yeah, we know, we're going to fake the belly, and it's a belly keep. And, we've already heard from everybody else. So those are my 2 big concerns. But I think on the plus side of it is I think we probably have less bad calls by the head coach when we're in the shotgun because we have different options off of it. In our pre-snap read, our quarterback has a pre-snap read where, if we get 1-on-1 coverage or 3-over-2, whatever, which we get a lot of both of those, we're going to throw the ball. And then secondly, you know, we've always got the run option with a quarterback now. Now, our quarterback this year was not, you know, he's a big, strong kid, big physical kid. Last year was our tight end and he played defensive end, and he still played defensive end this year. We were pretty thin, but, you know, not a great runner, but he was pretty effective, you know, and he ran trap, he ran belly. You know, we run buck sweep. So we ran a lot of our regular wing T stuff out of the shotgun. So I'm glad we did it.
Awesome.
Hey, Alex.
No, go ahead.
Alex. The reason you got all those flags and stuff is you're a North Shore guy like Wolfie and I. They've been doing that for us for years up here. That's all that is.
I knew
what I
you were. I
remind
didn't
him-
know.
I remind
didn't
him
know
every
Wolfram
time
was a
before the
North Shore
game.
guy. Where's John
Yeah,
from?
Wolfie's a Marblehead.
Oh, Marblehead, Danvers, and Boxford, huh? Nice. Nice.
And Roche is a New York guy too, so I always tell the rest before the game, don't give him any calls, man. He's a Jets fan for crying out loud.
And a Jets fan, which makes it even worse up this way.
I don't want to hear anything about inadvertent whistles. We get them too.
Coach
Yeah.
Warren, yeah, you do. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
even in the spread, quite honestly, we've gotten our share in the zone read game. A few years ago, I think we had 5 in one season.
Mike, can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
T-Wise and the coaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've spent a little time this, whatever we're calling this period of our life. A lot of guys down the southern states that are running the wing T have gotten into rather than the shotgun, going pistol a lot more. I'm reading a lot of Rick Stewart, I think, a couple of guys down, I think that's his name, down that way running a lot of pistol. Has anybody tried that? It does set it up a little bit better, but you know what I mean? I'm not sure the timing and stuff. It looks like I'd like trap out of it because like Coach Wolfgram said, trap's such a quick hitter for us. I mean, when we run trap under center, I basically tell my fullback, if you want to sniff the butt of the quarterback, I'm good with that. I want to hit that quick, you know, up through there. So I don't know if anybody's dabbled in the pistol at all in the wing T, and I'd love to hear if they like it or just haven't even done it. So.
I'll say, but before anybody else goes, that I know when Jason Vayu was at Yarmouth and we were playing them, he was running wing T out of the pistol.
Yeah.
You know, and ran some of the series pretty well. You know, some of them were a little slower developing. I felt, you know, just defending them, and they took a little bit of time. You know, and they maybe gave up some minus plays, you know, when we played them sometimes, but some of the stuff was good. And, you know, the part that I think that was different, you know, from maybe the further back spread wing T was that some of the fakes and stuff were still effective.
Right.
You know, whereas when you got the quarterback back at 5, there's really not as much time to be able to do some of that stuff. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the other thing is too, we haven't done any pistol, and basically for us, when we're in a shotgun, because we didn't want to change any blocking schemes for our offensive line and so forth, basically I tell my backs, hey, listen, the quarterback, you are now our fullback. So if we run belly, you're carrying the ball. If we run counter and we tag it with a Q, you're running the ball, etc. And we tell our fullback that he's the halfback. So if we're running buck sweep, he's running the ball, if, you know, and whatever. So I think from a learning standpoint for us, it was a lot easier just to, we set our halfback, our fullback actually, who becomes a halfback. He set at 4, which is where they're set in the wing T. So I think from a learning standpoint, that was the main reason for us. It's easier.
I want to throw this one out there too. I know, you know, I just call it the Delaware set. When you have tight end wing, one back, slot, you know, tight slot with a split end to the other side. You know, when you have that, and obviously you use a lot of motion with those two, you know, wing backs. How do you time up that motion? Is it tied to your cadence? Are they just leaving, you know, at a certain point of their own? Is the quarterback communicating that? What do you guys? What have you found to be the most effective way to do that? Anybody want to take a stab at that one? Kenny?
Who do you want to start with?
How about Kenny Lindlof?
John.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, we call it, ironically, we call that Delaware formation too, and it's one of our favorite formations. It's so flexible. You know, you got a wing on one side, a slot on the other side. We can either use deep motion, which we have 2 tags for deep motion. We can use flat motion, which we have 2 tags. Sometimes we don't even go in motion. It's a no-mo type of situation, and You know, it's you can run buck out of it, you can run rocket out of it, you can run trap out of it, you can run belly down out of it, you can run belly cross out of it. You know, there's so much you can do out of it. Plus, then you can counter. You know, you can counter both ways. So that in itself, there's about 6 different plays you can run to the left and to the right, and you know, it's really good, and depends on what we want to do, whether it's deep motion, flat motion, or whatever else. But we have tags for all the motions we use.
How does the slot know when to go in motion?
It depends. If it's slot motion, we're running rocket. It's no mo. He's not going to go. If it's deep motion, he's going to go on the quarterback. Our cadence is set, now, hit. He's going to start a motion on set on the first sound, basically. So, you know, like I said, depends on whether it's a flat motion, a deep motion, or whatever.
Awesome. That's my favorite formation, by the way. I'm not a wing T guy, but that's the formation we put in first, and that's the formation that we probably use the most all year, every year. So, anybody else do it a little differently with the motion?
Ours is based on cadence. I'm a cadence guy.
Yeah, we go on cadence too. Same deal.
It's cadence, but sometimes we have we call our left halfback is L, our right halfback is R. So we have R mo, L mo, L zip, R zip, and sometimes it's a heel lift, sometimes it's a cadence. Depends on, maybe we're motioning across. That's zip motion, or if it's jet mo or a fake jet, then that's that's cadence. R mo and L mo means they're motioning back to the regular halfback set, and we tell them to leave late and go fast, rather than some teams they the halfback's kind of tentative and he's kind of tiptoeing. Leave late, go fast.
Yeah, we always tell our guys too to, guys are different. Like, Damian Calder can leave a lot later than some of the other guys on our roster, because he just,
right.
He's fast. So it may be a different point in the quarterback's cadence for one kid than it is, for another kid, and we just kind of leave them on their own. But late and fast is our rule. As late and fast as you possibly can always seems to work out pretty well.
Do you guys that run shotgun feel that jet sweep is more effective out of the shotgun or under center? Like Alex does that a lot.
We haven't run the jet out of shotgun yet.
Oh.
We put in something every year since we started doing it, and that's probably what we're going to do this year, to be honest with you. So I just can't tell you. We just haven't run the jet yet.
I've never run it under center, so I couldn't say in that regards, but I can tell you that out of the gun, the thing that I like about it the most is you can kind of vary up the scheme, and you can, have it be designed to be really fast and try to get the edge and that type of scheme, or you can try to run it more like a buck sweep scheme up in the alley. And we kind of have some calls for both. Then obviously, we run some reads off it, stuff like that. But my favorite play.
I think it's harder under center to run jet because he's got to get the handoff and he's got to bow backwards, and he's you just have more. There's more space when he's doing it out of gun.
Right. Are you guys? Is the standard for jet when you're under center to pull the play side guard, or is it just to reach everybody?
We reach, and then if we have an uncovered lineman, he's free to go.
Yeah. Is that what you do too, Timmy?
Yeah. I mean, we're probably more reach but we will pull if we can. The timing of that, like, because I remember when we first learned it back, whatever year it was that people find, in the wing T were running the jet. Is that quarterback getting that? The handoff should really, under center, in my opinion, the handoff should really happen over the opposite guard. So when he comes around, it should be well over the opposite guard as much as we can, and then that we'll call him belly up to get away from the line of scrimmage to read that. If you do it well, I mean, I think it's a great setup play. I know, Mike, for the spread guys, it's a great play, period. For us, it's a good, in my mind, it's a great setup play to run. I love running that motion if we're good at it, and running trap back the other way. In other words, away from the jet trap, because if that linebacker takes one step towards jet, you're done. We get a great down block, and then tackle trap off that is also, I think, an outstanding play off the jet mo, back away from jet, tackle trap. Because you get so much motion going. You've got a fullback going this way. You got the jet mo going this way. And especially if he gives you a good fake on jet, if that back gives you a good fake on jet.
The very first game I coached at Levitt was in 2002, and we played Lake Region when Chuck Hamady, you remember Chuck, Timmy was there, and he was a great wing T coach, I thought. A lot of shifting, jet motion, doing a lot of that stuff before really other guys were doing it.
Yep.
And, they were pretty good back then, too. They had some guys, and we lost a shootout up there, like 39-37 or something stupid like that. But they killed us with jet motion, tackle trap. We could not defend it for Deans that day. We were yelling at our kids before the play, like, it's coming, and we still couldn't do it. The other play, and then I'll open it up for some other guys to come on, but one last question, I'll throw it out there. Counter crisscross. I've seen some guys block it some different ways. I've seen some guys pull guard and tight end. Sometimes it's a GT scheme. How are you guys teaching that counter crisscross play? Coach Wolfgram, I'll start with you.
Okay. We will pull both the guide and the tight end through the hole if we're going to tight end who can move, basically. And to be honest with you, we don't run the counter crisscross as well as, let's say, Marshwood does or some other people. We have it in our arsenal and we run it, but I don't think it's one of our best plays, to be honest with you. But we pull both the guide and the tight end through the hole.
Coach Rotsko, how about you?
We used to, the original wing T stuff was tight end, guard, pull, like John said, and that's the way we always ran it. And we wanted to be able to run it out of a spread formation or 2x2 or 3x1, whatever. So we ended up going, just counter tray, GT. So we ran it with that scheme, and we would tag it. We would just say, for us, counter crisscross going to the right is a 546. So we just say 546T. Then we got in the shotgun, and we wanted to be able to run counter to our fullback, who's now our halfback, and also our quarterback off the fake. So we made that our base scheme. So our base scheme on crisscross now is GT, and we're going to kick out with the guard and lead the tackle through the hole. So now if we do want to run it with a tight end, we just tag it with a Y. So if we have a tight end in the game, it would be brown or gold, whatever, or left gold, left brown, 546Y. That tells the tight end you're pulling instead of the tackle. That's all. So we block it. It allowed us to run it pretty much out of all of our formations, which was nice.
When we play Timmy next year, can one of you guys come down and coach up my look team on how to run that play? Because that team sucks with the look offense, man. The scout offense can't run it for Deans.
We like to pull the tackle and the tight end in that scheme. In that scheme. One of the things we've toyed with, and I probably shouldn't say this because we've never done it, but there's a team in Alaska. I don't know how I found them, but they run exclusively the counter crisscross as their offense. But what they do is they'll run counter crisscross. Then that wing back becomes the QB option, where the QB becomes the option back, and they run option off it after the second handoff. It's an amazing thing to watch. And then they'll run a pass play after he pitches it back to the quarterback. They run a pass play off that, and then they even run a little. It got really. It was very impressive to watch. They were basically, instead of wing T, I would call them counter crisscross team. I don't know that it really was all they were doing, and they were doing it very successfully. There's some things you could do off counter crisscross. We practice it. I'm just always scared to death to call it in a game. One of these times I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll wait.
Those guys that are doing that all the time ain't practicing defense one lick. They're just on offense. All right, fellas, I'd love to peg questions at you all night, but I'll let guys turn their cameras on, turn your microphones on. If you want to get some questions with these guys before they go, we can. Fellas, I'll just say on my end, this has been awesome. If you could have told me, a ways back that I could sit down and have the 5 of you guys on and just fire questions at you for an hour and 15 minutes here, I wouldn't have believed it. So certainly appreciate your time, and you guys are the best. So I'll open it up. Coach Lip, you were up on here first. What do you need to know?